Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, a show that explores how to upgrade your lifestyle through life lessons, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Here's your hostess, SaCola Lehr. Have you ever thought about becoming a realtor? You might have seen some of those popular shows on television, and it looks so fun, right? You get to open up doors and show people homes, go on tours, or you may even see how some realtors floss their proceeds from their commission checks. And you may say, hey, that's what I want to do. Well, today, this evening, I'm joined by a special guest, literally, Connie Ward. She is my accountability partner. She's been my accountability partner for 3 years. But here's the reason why I wanted to sit down and have a conversation with her, and while I chose her out of some of the other realtors that I know. And that is because she has been in the real estate industry for almost 25 years. That's phenomenal, guys. Not that many people stay that long in a business, period. A lot of people walk away and leave businesses after 2 to 3 years because they don't make a profit. It's not becoming a viable business. It's become a hobby. But Connie, I wanted to sit down and thank you so much for actually taking the time to come and talk with me about this, because I'm still newer to real estate. I can't even light a candle to how much you have seen or experienced in real estate. So thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Sakola. I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Just about I like to say I've been around the world and
Yes, you have. So Connie, can you share with us what prompted you, what led you to become a realtor? Because back then, the television shows weren't as popular that we see today, or the reality series. What drew you to real estate?
Well, I think from a very young age, probably my teenage years, I was just always enamored by, like everyone, beautiful homes, green grass, and that kind of picture perfect story that, we've been told or read about. And coming from the Northeast, I grew up in the Northeast and I relocated to North Carolina, to Charlotte as a teenager. I was 14 years old. And the lay of the land of topography is very different, right? The style of homes and things like that. But I've always been intrigued by beautiful structures just in general. But from as long as I can remember, I've lived in a house, a home. Not that other, places that we call home are not home, but my grandmother, who is 92 years old, who is still with us today, owned property from before I was born up until now. And so for me, it was just kind of like a natural progression. I thought, I grew up thinking everyone owned a home. I really didn't have that concept of even renting versus owning, because it was just something that wasn't a part of our kind of household conversation. And so as I was getting older and just being, completely in love with homes and houses and looking at houses and touring homes, I felt like once I started to learn and hear that reality wasn't the same for everyone, and that for some people they truly felt like owning a home was something that they could never ever do in their lifetime. And so I thought, well, wait a minute. My grandmother's owned the home since as far back as I can remember, and she's sold homes and has gotten substantial profit for those homes, and even bought a home cash, from moving from the Northeast, even all those years ago, over 35 years ago, when my grandmother moved to North Carolina. She had sold her home. We had a three-family home, and they don't really have that style of home. It's not really common in the Southeast, but we lived in a three-family home. So my whole family lived in one house at one point in time. So we had a full basement. First floor was like a full two-bedroom. apartment style, but still very big. Second floor, same thing, third floor. And so it was my grandmother, my aunts, my cousins, myself, my brother, and we all lived in this massive house that took up like a block. And so when you think about it, one thing that my grandmother says that just resonates with me all the time, because she's very tech savvy, right? She has an iPhone, she's got an iPad, she's on the internet, she's on Facebook, and I have to watch my P's and Q's because she comments on my posts. So I have to behave. She's like, "Hi, Con," and she uses emojis and all that stuff, and it's cute and funny and all of that. And so one day I said to her, I said, "It's really, I think, commendable and amazing that you're so tech savvy." And she said, "Yeah, from the plantation to the iPhone."
Mm.
And that just struck me. It resonated that here she was. She's about, I don't know, 5'1", 5'2". So she's a small, but very mighty and bold and outspoken person. But to come from, a child of sharecroppers, grew up on a plantation, cleaned other people's houses as a child, migrated from Alabama to the Northeast to Connecticut at a young age, and that she was able to buy property, build equity, sell property, buy property, and she's done it probably 8 times.
Mm.
It kind of blows my mind when you put that into perspective, especially as a female woman of color, right? So when I got my real estate license, I think I was about 25, and I thought I was going to be this, realtor extraordinaire. I was going to be rich, and I was going to sell all these houses, and I was going to be fancy
Because
and
that's
all
what a
of
lot of
that.
people
Because,
think, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that it's easy,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily easy, but that it was something that was not considered as hard work and taxing, like mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, all of that. It's like, oh, you sell houses, you get this big check, and you go off into paradise. But I always wanted to help people. I wanted people like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and look like me. People that seemed to feel like that home ownership was unattainable for them. I thought, I want to help those people get into a home. That was my dream. That was my passion. That all the people that think they can't buy a house, I'm going to show them different. I'm going to prove to everybody that they can do it. And that's kind of how it all started.
Interesting. I love the fact that you had a role model.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, I do love the fact that she's in her 90s. She knows how to text, use emojis.
She's on it. I mean, she had an iPhone before I had an iPhone. I've only had an iPhone for literally probably a year.
Well, let's just face it. Your grandmother's a
Yeah, she
trailblazer, right?
is absolutely pioneer, Renaissance
Shout out to
woman.
grandma.
Yes.
She's a trailblazer. But you looks like you had a wonderful example.
Hmm.
So once you got into real estate, can you give us a
Oh,
time frame when that happened, compared to today? When did you actually enter into real estate?
1997.
1997.
Yep.
Okay.
I was
What
25, 1997. I got my real estate license, and I that's when the shoe dropped, because all of the fantasy and everything that I thought in my mind that real estate was, I learned very quickly that's not necessarily how it works. And one of the biggest things is that I didn't realize that when you become a real estate professional, right? Become a real estate agent, you get your license and you join the association, you become a realtor, that you essentially opened a complete business.
Mhm.
I had no idea at that point in time that's what I was doing. And I didn't really understand the significance of it either, that I was a business owner. And it's not really talked about in that light. Even today, I don't think people really position it as you are opening a business. It's, I got my real estate license, I passed the test,
Mhm.
and I'm going to be a real estate agent, and I joined this firm. You very rarely hear someone say, I started a real estate business or I opened a business. And that's exactly what it is. And I probably didn't really even look at it that way until recently, within the last couple of years.
You know, it's funny you mention that because when I started in real estate, when I was in real estate school, my real estate instructor, Bruce, stated that you are essentially running a real estate business.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just out here being an independent contractor. You run a real estate business. The first firm that I joined with right out of real estate school said, you run a real estate business. And I'm appreciative of that because running other businesses before becoming a realtor kind of set me up in an advantage because I
Mm-hmm.
knew what it took to set yourself up for success. I knew what it took to put systems in place first. So I didn't go out here just trying to find clients, sell
Sell
homes.
homes, right? Yeah.
I needed to put systems in place that says, okay, this is how this is going to work best for me as a realtor and how I'm going to work for my clients, how I'm going to show up for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just hit the ground running thinking, I've got to make this money, got to make this money. But then they
Right.
don't set themselves up for success. They don't
Right.
know.
They don't build that foundation.
Right. You need
Right.
an accounting. You need a good accounting. You need a good business attorney. You need to start making these connections. And some people already have those connections. And when
Mm-hmm.
they do, that's great. A lot of people who I went to class with, their family was already in real estate. So they already had a good foundation.
Right.
But for the
Yeah.
ones that don't, like you,
Right.
it was a complete eye opener, I can imagine,
It
right?
was. And back then, when I first got my real estate license, I went to Caldwell Banker, and it was Caldwell Banker Flow House at the time. And it was a pretty, well established, well known brand and also franchise in the Charlotte metro area. And I thought I had made it, right? I was, big time. And I remember going into the office, and I can remember to this day, I had a black skirt. And this was back when we kind of wore pumps and pantyhose, right? And skirts and little blazers. And it was a white and black checked blazer. And I had my little realtor pen, and I was just fancy. I think I even had like a little leather edge. I don't think it was real leather. I think it was leatherette.
It's
Leatherette.
okay. You showed up.
Right. I showed up and I was ready and I was all professional. And I walk in the door and I'm like, I'm here. And that's when the music stopped, really, because then it got really quiet. Because I thought, like, starting a job, my very first job, when I went to a business college, and when I graduated, my first job was with what is now Bank of America, but it was NCNB, then it became Nations Bank, and then it later became Bank of America. And that was my introduction into the adult working world. My first job, I was working in uptown Charlotte. You show up and you get a desk, you have orientation and all this stuff, and you got pens and notebooks and all that. And so I walk in and it's kind of like, okay, go figure it out. And I don't think I even got a pencil. Now, some firms now, especially, they have training, they have orientation, they have a process. But from the perspective of you've now opened a business and all those other fundamental things that we just talked about that you need to have when you open a business, I didn't have any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have accounting in place. I didn't talk to a CPA. I didn't have my, business expenses and things organized in a way, process what I was going to do as far as a business owner, let alone run a real estate business and actually service clients. And I walk in and I'm kind of like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do, where to go. I have this empty desk. It had a phone and that was it, because basically I opened a business and I need to have my own supplies, right? For the most part. Um, and it was very manual back then too. We didn't have the internet, and technology wasn't what it is today. And so we did a lot of things manually in books, and we had the MLS books that were literally a big giant book that were, I don't know if they were printed quarterly or monthly or something like that, but they came out. And so that's
I have
how.
no idea what you're talking about.
Really? This is back when we were using MapQuest and printing out maps and showing
Okay.
people homes. When they actually got in the car with you and you went to pick strangers up and they got in your car,
Mm.
not just
Thank
meeting
goodness we
them
don't do that now. Thank
at the
goodness.
house. It's like you pick them up, you drive them all over. You might even take them to lunch. So it was very different, but I kind of, wandered around aimlessly for a while, right? Because I was kind of stunned and I was shocked and I really was surprised. And I also thought, okay, I'm going to get a book of business. I'm going to get clients. Like, okay, here are the people that want to buy houses, Connie. Go help them, right? You got your real estate license. I didn't know that I had to actually generate my own business and market and find my own clients and then know what to do, what to say, and then how to manage that process from that initial introduction to the consultation to getting an agency agreement to them becoming a client to showing them houses, getting them pre. None of that. I had no idea. And I thought, okay, oh, and the other thing I thought I got a check. Was like, okay, when do I get paid? I did not know that you do not get paid when you become a real estate agent. There is no check coming on Friday. You don't get paid every 2 weeks, once a month. You don't get paid until you actually, number one, acquire a lead that may become a client that actually buys a home, closes on a home, and then you get a check and you probably have spent more than what the first check is when you finally get it. I had no idea that that's how it worked. I thought that I was going to get a paycheck for showing up because I'm like, I'm here. It's 8 o'clock. I'm going to work till 5. I had no idea that
Wow.
that's not how it worked. So that was a surprise. But once I kind of got over the initial shock and I realized the reality of how the game was played, how to do it, I am a person where I like when you get a new gadget, right? Or a piece of furniture or whatever, I actually read the manual that comes with it and I follow the rules, the guidelines. It says do it like this. I'm going to follow it step by step.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I tackled real estate. I need to learn what is exactly I'm supposed to be doing, right? What are these forms I'm filling out? So that's what I did. I studied those forms and I became an expert at knowing what the documents said. And I think that's what has carried me even during my hiatus when I left, and we could talk about that later. When I came back, is because I knew those forms inside and out. And I was very meticulous with my paperwork, right?
Mhm.
And organized. So the office administrator ended up quitting or left. I'm not really sure if she quit, but I assume that's what happened because it was abrupt. And so since I was, this very meticulous, organized, neat and tidy, new real estate agent, they said, okay, can you fill in for us temporarily?
Mhm.
And I ended up doing that job for 2 years. And so I was an agent and I was an office administrator. So I got to make a little bit of commission when I got clients, but I also got to get a check, which was really nice because that made me very nervous that you don't get paid and you got to do all this work and there's no check coming. I got 2 kids. What? I got a
Right.
young family, right? So my husband, my 2 kids, and I think we had a couple of cats or something. I'm like, I need to actually make money. So that was a really great opportunity. But all of the agents hated me because I was the keeper of the money, the checks, because I was kind of the compliance person. I was the onboarding person. I was the orientation person, getting people acclimated to the office, but I also was the person that reviewed the files. And if they were not correct, that was when the check came to the office and you didn't get it until your file was complete, which is kind of how it goes today.
Right.
But it was very manual. We even had some documents that were like carbon copies.
Okay. I'm familiar with carbon
Uh-huh.
copies, so I can only imagine, wow, how that must have been what everything being digital nowadays.
Right.
But now,
Very manual process back then.
so obviously you succeeded in real estate for a period of time, but then you mentioned how you left the industry for a
Hmm.
time. What prompted you to
When
do
I
that?
went into almost a forced retirement, so to speak.
Okay, let's
Um,
talk about that.
so kind of fast forward when after I spent that time being an office administrator, and then I went to a commercial real estate firm. And I worked in commercial real estate. I worked for Colliers Pinker, which was uptown Charlotte, and I was fancy again. I thought I was fancy. And we managed, commercial,
Mhm.
office, industrial, flex space, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I was the lease administrator, which meant that I got to read very complex leases and extract out all of the important information and tenant relations and blah, 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 and some finance stuff. And I love that job. So I got to learn real estate from being a general brokerage agent for a
Mhm.
little while, from the um, internal workings from the administrator side, then on the commercial side. And then I met what ended up being my future boss. The accountant in our office, her husband worked for a builder for many, many years, and he and his partner, his friend, they formed their own building company. They started building homes, and I ended up buying one of their homes as my first home. So I was about 29 ish, and was buying my first home. Unfortunately, I was also getting a divorce, so I got divorced, bought a house, and went to sell new homes, 100% commission, all like in the span of the same month. And so long story short, the account manager at the time said, I think you'd be good at selling new homes. But before, I couldn't get a job in new homes because they said you don't have any experience. So anyway, I got that job, and that was my jam.
Mm,
I fell in love with new home sales.
mhm,
Which I kind of consider myself almost like a hybrid, because I work for Tate, Allen Tate, BSI, which was the new homes division of Allen Tate. So we kind of managed more independent builder accounts, very similar to how a general brokerage agent would list new construction. So we still even used a lot of the same documents, forms, the regular standard offer to purchase. We didn't have like builder contract documents. So I was still doing some similar activities as a regular general brokerage agent, but on the new construction side. And this was in the early 2000s, and I was just living my best life, right? I was very successful, doing really well, but I got to service mostly first time home buyers, which was kind of my sweet spot. I was living my passion. I was, you know, successful, it was lucrative, but I was also doing something that really, really, really was rewarding for me. I'm just helping a lot of those people that remember back when I got my license that thought they could never own a home. And I got to be with those people for a long period of time, because a lot of times when you're building new, you're with the buyer for months. It's not like a 30-day, 60-day process. I could be with someone for 6 months. So I'm getting to know them. They're getting to know me, working with their family. And then we kind of know what happened. Fast forward to 2007, 8, 9, the market crashed. Um, and that was when I had to make a change. The market crashed. My world completely fell apart. And it was a devastating time. A lot of devastation. A lot of people pretty much lost everything, their homes, their vehicles, all the money that they had. Some people, people were going to prison and getting in trouble. And
mhm,
it was just a lot of loss, devastation, homelessness. And so my world was falling apart. And again, here I am. I'm a homeowner. I have 2 kids. Um,
mm,
at that time, I had a couple of dogs. I'm the primary income earner, and everything just again went silent. Like the music stopped, and my oldest son was starting his first year of college. And unfortunately, when you go to college, when students are applying for financial aid, they base it on your parents' income tax return from the year before. Well, here I am. I don't have a job because all our builders pretty much collapsed, and most of them went under. I didn't have a job, and I had a kid that was going to college, and he couldn't get financial aid because they were like, "You made too much money." I'm like, "Well, I don't have any now. Like, I have my savings, but I don't have an income." But that didn't matter. So I kind of was, kind of one foot in and one foot out, trying to think, okay, what am I going to do? So I was like, okay, you know what? I need to bow out gracefully. So I kind of stepped aside, retired, but I went to work for commercial finance that was doing commercial lending. And I did that for a while. Um, I kind of was in general brokerage a little bit here and there, friends, family, and some clients, but that was just really a kind of a not so great time to be in real estate. And so when I decided to leave real estate completely was around 2013. And I thought, okay, I'm done. I'm retiring and I'm going to go do something else. And I'm never coming back.
mhm.
I said I was never coming back.
Well, you know what that saying is, right?
Yeah.
Never
Never say never.
say never. Absolutely. But during the process from the time that you left, what made you want to come back?
You know what's really interesting? I every job, almost every job that I've ever had was an unintentional job,
Explain that. Let's talk
because
about that.
there weren't usually jobs that I sought out.
Okay.
When I went to Coldwell Banker initially, yeah, I wanted to be a real estate agent. I sought that out.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came in office administrator, I didn't really seek that out. So one thing led to an opportunity that led to an opportunity, and I met someone that would lead into opportunities. I was not planning on selling new construction. I was not planning to go work for a builder because 100% commission terrified me. As a single parent, there's no way. You don't have health insurance, you don't have anything, right? And
Right.
so that's very scary. And so it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. And so but that opportunity presented itself and I took it, right? And so here I am in the had the the height of my career, then fell off a cliff, and then um COVID happened. So I didn't come back to real estate because I wanted to. I kind of got pushed back into real estate because I lost my job. So here I am, another crisis. COVID happens. I got furloughed and then I got permanently laid off May 15th, 2020. And I thought about, okay, well, I have my real estate license. Maybe I'll do that. But I was mostly crying and in my pajamas and depressed. And then I thought about it and I thought, okay, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'll go back. So January 1, 2021, I said, that's my day. I set a deadline for myself
Mm-hmm.
to kind of pick myself up and dust myself off. And I'm like, okay, this is enough, sitting in the house with the blinds closed. And I came back and it's just been a blast ever since.
Well, good for you. A lot of people make the intentional movements to pursue something. And you said it just happened. It was
Yeah, it just happened.
unintentional for you. And it's taking you on an absolutely wonderful journey,
Yeah.
right? Because here you are, a woman who was raising two kids on your own in a commission based business. And so not too many people would take that risk, and you took that risk. So that is just absolutely phenomenal on your part. But now, since you've been back,
Mm-hmm.
you have had the opportunity to do something that has been very impactful for a lot of other realtors, and myself included, which is why I wanted to bring you on. Because, guys, Connie is just one of those people that she is there for you. She will help you. You even came to my very first open house when I got my first listing and was like, okay, we need to market it this way. We need to just, she's never been my official. You are my official mentor. I will say that you are my official
Well,
mentor
thank
because,
you. I
most
accept.
mentors in real estate, they do get paid. They get paid a percentage for mentoring newer agents. Connie just came in, became my accountability partner. Actually, I think we met, and then I said, I'm looking for an accountability. No, I think you messaged me. I made a comment or about
Mhm.
something, and I said, I'm looking for an accountability partner. And here's Connie Ward. She just pops up and says, I'll be your accountability partner. And we met virtually every week, pretty much every week. There's been
Pretty a
some,
couple, but
yeah,
pretty consistently for 3 years.
for 3 years, we've been each other's accountability partner. We have cried together. We've wept.
Boo
There
hoo.
are times we have wept,
Ugly
we've cried.
cried.
Yes. And we have rejoiced at the same time. But you have also helped so many other people along the way.
I'm not crying today.
Okay.
Just know that.
I'm trying to give her her roses, guys, while she's here
Yeah.
and present. But the knowledge that she has, she's my go-to. She's one of my main go-tos. I call her, you know, mentor Connie, Big Connie, because you also stepped out on a limb and did something else phenomenal recently. It was in the
Hmm.
past 6 months, right?
November.
November.
Yeah.
So it's been a
Yeah.
little bit more than
About
6 months,
7 months
about
ish.
7 months.
Yeah.
You did something bold. Talk about that. What did you do? After 25 years off and on in real estate, you did something bold. You made a bold move.
I did.
What did you
Well,
do?
I just took my real estate business to the next level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I formed my own firm. So I'm an independent broker, which is something that, agents with a certain level of experience can do. But it's one of those things like real estate as a whole that can seem very scary and overwhelming, and that you need this backing behind you. You need this brand, you need this name, or you're not going to make it. And that's pretty much all I need is for somebody to tell me that I cannot do something or that
Mm-hmm.
I will not be successful doing something, and to, try to show myself that I can do it, not just to prove them wrong, but it's that I can. This is something that I've had a passion and desire to do. And the opportunity presented itself, and I decided to, go for it. I like doing things a specific, particular way. And I kind of want to be the
Facts.
captain of my own ship.
I can testify to that. Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think, when you are that way and you're of that mindset, and that's kind of just your personality type and it's in your DNA, you'll never be, I don't think you can really ever truly reach that level of not necessarily just monetary success, but that fulfillment, right? And that liberation that you get from proving to yourself that you can do anything, right?
Right.
So that's what I wanted to do. And
And you
so
did
I
it.
did it.
You did it.
I did it. Yeah.
You love going on that roller coaster ride.
I do. I do. But you know what? I'm also very blessed too, because I think that, I don't do things on my own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, not to get all religious or anything like that, but, none of this stuff has happened by accident, right?
Right.
And I know that there is a higher power, and I know that God does make ways for me and paths even when I don't see it. He puts me in a position that presents the opportunity, but it's up to me to actually do the work and take the action,
You got
right?
to give him something to bless, period.
Right, exactly. And so I've learned that all of the things that seem like they were traumatic experiences, like when you start from nothing and you build something and it falls apart and you got to
Mm-hmm.
start over, and it's really devastating. And I like to say now that I've been a part of two of the most historic markets ever in history of, I don't know, real estate. I know there may have been some other crisis, but the crash of 2007, 8, and then what happened through the pandemic with the real estate
Mm-hmm.
market, and that kind of chaotic, volatile, and the massive, increase in property values and all of that happened, is mind blowing to me, that I was in the middle of both of those environments, and that I learned so much. I think that they served a purpose. And now I'm starting to really understand that, not to be cliche, but things really do happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is for a learning, or to get you to the next place that you're supposed to be, or for you to be there to help whoever it was that you were supposed to help or be a light for in that moment, at
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Right.
And so I think it's all a blessing. I'm grateful, because to be able to wake up every morning, even as hard as real estate is, don't get me wrong, it's hard and it's a lot of work, right? And it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But to be able to be autonomous and have complete control of your whole existence is pretty amazing.
Right.
And then you actually love it at the same time is pretty special. So,
And you get to help
mm,
people reach that
yep,
finish line.
yep,
And you see that growth in just a span of a few months. Sometimes it's 30 days. They go from having an idea or a
mm-hmm,
dream, and then, wow, they're walking in the door. So it is a rewarding process. Or seeing a seller saying, hey, this is our goal. We want to do this. We have other goals. We have dreams that we want to pursue. We need you as that
yep,
trusted advisor to help us get there. And the thing is that you do it with grace, you do it with integrity. And it's not about the flash,
mm-hmm,
it's not about the prestige for you. It's about genuinely helping
yeah.
people. And I think that is why you are incredible.
No pun
No
intended.
pun intended. So you've mentored not just myself, but you've mentored other agents that have come
Yeah,
into the
quite a
business.
few.
Right. Do you have any advice, any tips for people who are aspiring or thinking about coming into real estate or who has just begun their journey? You've
Hmm.
touched on some in our conversation
Yeah,
already,
yeah.
but what would you give them?
So I think the very kind of fundamental, basic thing that might seem a little, played out is really being yourself. And I think authenticity really, really matters. And it's so important, especially in this day and age of technology and social media and all of the shiny objects and the glitz and the glamour. And I think a lot of us find ourselves chasing that. And I've kind of been guilty of it too. We've had to rein each other back in and walk, talk each other off the ledge, the proverbial ledges. Is that where when you try to be something that you're not because you think you need to be like this person or this
Mhm.
popular person or this influencer and you're chasing that, I feel like you can never find your rhythm. You don't find your lane. And so that's probably the biggest thing is that when I came back to real estate, I had decided that no matter what, I was going to be Connie, right? And all the things that are part of who I am as a person and the things that I love and care about. Like I jokingly say that I love animals, old people, right? And um I do care about people and our food, right? I like to feed
I
people.
thought you was
I
about to
like to
say
cook.
cake.
Yeah, sorry.
Mhm.
Animals, old people, and food. Um, but and not old people as in like that's in the negative way, but I just love our seniors, right? And I love children. um but also inside of that, I didn't want to compartmentalize myself and show up in this space as this and this space as that. I'm like, okay, how can I be Connie, the crazy dog lady, cat lady, baker, realtor, friend, big sister? How can I just be that?
We talked through that. Yeah, I
And
remember that.
once I decided that that's exactly what I was going to do, I feel like it just made everything easy.
Hmm.
I wasn't chasing after whatever
Right.
and distracted. So I think that is really important to be authentic and also make your business a part of who you are as a whole person. Right. So like in mentees that I've had, for example, one person, they really love plants, right? There's one person, they were former military, right? And they also had a big long beard. I was like, that's who you are.
Hmm.
That's your business. That's your brand. Make that, package it up.
Right. Right.
Right? So I think that having an identity, knowing your mission and your vision, what is your objective, right? That you're trying to do. For your clients that you're trying to serve, and then for yourself, right? For that personal, professional satisfaction and reward, and also financially, because we got to make a living too. And how do you um, leverage all of those things to be successful? And then knowing your stuff. I feel like practicing and studying constantly, reading constantly, and really being on top of your game because nobody can ever take that away from you. If you are confident and you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing, it's going to create, you're going to get that likability. People are going to know, like, and trust you. And it's essential in this space for people to know, like, and trust you. You have to have confidence, and the only way you can get confidence is by knowing what the heck you're doing and what you're talking about. I'm really a huge, huge, huge proponent of knowing what you're doing, and that this is not a DIY
Mm.
profession. It's not a fake it until you make it. It's really knowing exactly what you're doing. So that's what I would tell any new person. Figure out what your identity is, your mission and your vision, your brand, your identity. Be yourself and know your stuff. Study and continue learning. And then there's the fundamental business things of consistency, establishing those fundamental processes and getting into some type of cadence and a rhythm. But the essential things are the first few things, because once you have that confidence, the sky's the limit. When you walk with your chest out, you said
Mm-hmm.
with your chest, and people, they just trust you and they want to work with you. But they can smell it from a mile away when you don't know what you're talking about. So,
Right. It's no different than being an educator.
mm-hmm.
That first day of school, you're standing up there, you're just as nervous as the kids are, but students smell fear.
A
They
mile away,
know
a
from the
mile
first
away,
45 minutes, hour, 20 minutes, whatever they have with you, the first
right
day with
away.
you, they can tell that, okay, this is one we're going to try
Mm-hmm.
because she's a pushover. They're a pushover. It's the same thing
Same
with your
thing.
clients.
Yep.
One good tip that my real estate instructor told us in class was these contracts, read them every day for 2 weeks.
Every day, out loud.
Unfortunately, they change just about every
Mm-hmm.
year. They
Mm-hmm.
tweak them for the better, I
Right.
think,
Yeah.
but know your contracts, know your stuff. And it can be a lot of legalese in there, but then that's when I get with someone like Connie who loves to read through the legalese and say, okay, break this down and put it in everyday vernacular.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
even when I have clients, it's, what does that mean? And for those who've been in real estate a little bit longer, they'll say, okay, this is why they've included this in there, because they don't give you a backstory,
Right.
but this
Right.
is why they've included this because some firms in our state does this, that, and the other. Okay. That's why you need to have those people around you. If someone is always on you about making sales is important. Sales you need for a viable business, but you also want to set your business up for the long run. A lot of people will leave when the market changes and shifts in
Mm-hmm.
real estate because they are not prepared. They didn't prepare themselves for the long haul,
Right.
for the rainy day season, right? So make sure that you're prepared. But to close this out, Connie, what are some of your favorite books or movies that, because we all have our ebbs and flows, our ups and
Right. Right.
downs
Right.
in business. Is there
Mm.
anything in particular that you love to watch or read that will put you in a better mood?
Well, to put me in a better mood, one thing before I answer that question, real quickly, I want to address when we were talking about knowing the documents, knowing the paperwork.
Mhm.
So back in the day, more often than not, you were sitting across the table from your customer, because when new home sales, they were my customers, not my clients.
Mhm.
And you were in the upside down position. So I tell my mentees, know your documents inside and out, like the back of your hand,
Mhm.
upside down, inside out, upside down, literally, because I would be across the table. So I would have to explain the
Mm.
paperwork from an upside down position. So when you're reading from an upside down position, if you do not know every line in that document, it's very difficult. And you're constantly turning it. Okay, wait, and you got to read it, turn it back. You're doing this. But I could just literally go, okay, this page, flip it, this page, flip it, because I knew it literally upside down, inside out, those
Mhm.
documents. So that's the level of understanding that we need to have for these documents. So
Okay.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Good.
Um,
Good to know.
but so I love reading. And I have a library of old books. Like I read all of kind of the staples, the older books, The Millionaire Next Door, and the oh my goodness, I don't know why I can't think of it. The man, what is it? Why can't I think of the name of the book? Sorry, if you wouldn't have asked me, I would have known. Um, but The Power of Nice. Um, I love reading industry related material, keeping up obviously with mortgage related information. So I do
Mhm.
comb for that type of information. But as far as like lifting my spirits, I'm not a real big TV watcher. I don't watch TV pretty much at all. But I do like to listen to podcasts, right? I like to listen to podcasts. I like to watch YouTube videos. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. Like Ricky Carruth is one of my favorites right now. I like to listen to his videos. And there's some mortgage professionals like Win the House You Love. I like to listen to other industry professionals who are sharing one, their expertise, their insight, their wisdom about things, people that I know, like, and trust, that I like to follow, that aren't sales pitchy trying to sell you something or upsell, because you got so many gurus that have like the next best thing, and they
Mhm.
have this program, sign up for this, and they have the teaser, and then there's the upsell. So, and a lot of times we spend chasing these shiny objects. So I try to stop chasing the shiny objects and find the people that resonate with me,
Mhm.
that I know, like, and trust, and that I feel like when I'm watching their content or consuming their content, I can rely on the information that they're sharing, that they're vetted. I know what they know what they're talking about, and I can also substantiate that by looking it up myself. So I do a lot of research, right? Looking at just industry information, the pages that I follow that are more real estate specific, articles and journals and things like that, websites that I follow. So that's for me, since I'm an empty nester now, and I have just my pets and myself for the most part in my business. I work most of the time. So that's my work, is my hobby. But I don't look at it as, oh, you work too long, you work too hard, you need to take a break. But it's kind of what I do to fill up that space where other people might have their favorite TV series that they watch. But
Mhm.
for me, learning how to build a website funnel, like, that's the last book that I read actually, was ClickFunnels. Um, how to build the website funnel is something that I really like. I enjoy learning new technology.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that I do in kind of my spare time, is everything pretty much that I do, I kind of do it myself. Like,
Okay.
as far as building my own websites and my own CRM systems and the back end stuff behind it. So I'm usually learning tech stuff. It's kind of what I'm into right now, is a lot of tech stuff.
Hey, look, if that's what lifts your spirits, I'm not here to judge you. Who am I to judge you?
That's my jam. I just
That's what you like. That's what you like. Okay. All right. So, what is the best way they can get in contact with you? Because if you are in the Charlotte metro area, or just in real estate, thinking about becoming a realtor, or you're just starting out, I think you are also now a mentor with the NAR, the National Association of
well,
Realtors, right?
Well, they have a mentor program called Spire. And so I have three mentees through the NAR Spire program. So, which I really enjoy being a mentor. So, it's one of the things that is not something that I do because there's no compensation a lot of times. But it's just one of those things that, one, it keeps me fresh, because I also want to make sure that I'm always giving out accurate, current, updated information. So, when I'm relaying things to other people, I want to make sure it's actually correct.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave Connie's information down in the show notes. And so if you have any questions for her, as far, especially if you're near the Charlotte metro area,
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina, reach out to Connie. We're going to put all her information in the show notes. And thank you again, Connie. We're almost out of time, but I wanted to just thank you for coming on. You have been I'm not finna tear up on this show. It's my show. I can tear up if I
Right.
want to,
Don't do it.
but I'm gonna hold it in. I'm gonna hold it in. But thank you for everything that you've done for me, because it's been immeasurable. I'm not even gonna lie. If it wasn't for people like Connie who've come into my life, would I probably still be in real estate? Probably not. Let's just be honest. I wouldn't be. So thank
Well,
you.
I
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
you. Thanks for having me on your amazing show.
All right. And guys, if you want to hear more real estate tips, the ins and outs of the real estate business, because again, it's always great to reach out to people who are already in the industry to figure out the best path for you and how to navigate yourself and set yourself apart as a realtor. Don't hesitate to reach out. You can always email me at info@workitliveitownit.com. And again, I'm going to put Connie's information down in the show notes. Don't forget to work it, live it, own it in your everyday lives. Take care. That's all
Bye,
for now.
guys.
Bye.